Brad, thanks for taking a few minutes out. Let's just get right to it. Everyone excited about the World Cup. The Scots have taken over Boston, which has been fun, but now everyone getting ready to see if the United States can do it again when they take on Australia on Friday. Just your thoughts on what you saw in that opener and what you expect to see perhaps coming up on this one.
On the one hand, the opener was spectacular, as well as the U.S. has ever played in a World Cup game. It has everybody excited and optimistic. They played an optimistic style, got on the front foot, got the early goal, really, rammed it down the throats of a very strong Paraguayan team, especially defensively. That was a Paraguay that had beaten Brazil and Argentina as part of their qualifying run, and so I think everybody felt like the U.S. over delivered. But that was a team that let the U.S. have a lot of possession, a lot of the ball. Going forward, that's not always going to be the case. But, Australia, similar proposition in terms of absorbing pressure with low block, but they hit on the counterattack in a different way. And they have, more muscular, athletic guys going forward. They have bigger, taller guys in the center of defense. So I think it's going to be a tougher game in terms of when you say styles make fights, matchups are important. Not as good a matchup for the U.S. and we still don't know how much Christian Pulisic's going to be able to play with the calf injury.
Not putting him in anywhere near that same category, but we've seen the stars star in the World Cup so far, from Messi to Mbappe to Haaland. Can Balogun do that for this United States team?
Yeah, well, two-goal performance was great. I thought he took a kind of a dirty hit and bounced back from it pretty well in the second half. Yeah, he coming off a great season in Monaco, 19 goals, at a high level. Arsenal Academy cast off. So he plays with something to prove. Like, it's a little bit early maybe to put him in the same category as those guys you just mentioned, but he was on all the lists of multiple goal scorers so far in the first round. They're going to need him to continue to produce, or somebody else up front, whether it's Pepe coming off the bench or one of the flank players. I think that for me the Achilles heel is the defense for the U.S. If they can play front foot attacking third and then get clinical finishing from the legs of Pulisic, Balogun, and whoever else. So Weah, McKinney, like that's going to be the key, right? Such a low scoring sport, and there's so little between these teams in certain bands anyway. You have the super elite, and then you have the minnows, and then everybody else. Now, video scouting and modern training methods, we've seen it. That's why there have been these draws, like Cape Verde getting an incredible result, and Uzbekistan standing toe to toe with Colombia. They've got good coaching and good scouting, and players, even if they're not in the big leagues that we know about. And so, Balogun, listen, the U.S. looked the part. A lot of people didn't see them in 2002 when they went all the way to the quarterfinals because it was played in Asia and the start times were so counter-cyclical to most people's sleep schedules. So this is really an opportunity, but I just don't want people to get too far ahead of themselves. It was dominant 4-1 performance, 2 goals from Balogun, superstar in the making, yes, but get a result against Australia, qualify for the next round. Because if they can win their group, it's a much easier path forward, as you know, Dan. If they come in second or even third in advance, then the draw is not going to line up as favorably. And so the odds of them progressing to round of 16, quarterfinal come less. So let's hope Pulisic is healthy, or if not, that they rest him and they can fill in the gaps. That's another whole question. Who comes in instead? Is it Weah? Is it Aronson? You bring in Gio Reyna for a full shift. We'll see. We'll know tomorrow. A little before kickoff.
All right, so let's end it with kind of what you hit on, just that last part, to explain to soccer fans out there, or just sports fans in Boston watching, Brad, what a win would do for the United States, what a draw would do, and what a loss would do.
Well, even a draw with this 32 teams advancing, I think takes them into the mid 90s in terms of odds of progressing. But the path gets harder in the knockout phase, and they're likely going to see one of the good teams like Morocco or Germany or even Ecuador in the round of 16. But they might see what that caliber of team in the round of 32 if they finish second. They'll get one of the smaller teams, like a weaker second place team or even a third place team if they finish top of the group. You don't want to go into the game a week from tomorrow against Turkey. I know Turkey didn't look great in their first game, but that's the kind of team that I worry that the U.S. will struggle with more, one that has the ball more, and that the U.S. isn't going to be able to charge down the flanks all the time when they want to. They're going to have to leave some of the wing backs, sort of tucked in a little bit more just to cover there, because Turkey, especially if they get a lead, are tough. They can keep the ball, and those are the kinds of teams that the U.S. are going to see as they progress. Assuming they progress, I don't want, like they're gonna, in all likelihood, they're gonna make it out of their group. They are in a very good position to win the group, but that's what makes the game against Australia so important.
Brad, always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure, Dan. Thanks for having me.